I love movies, and this year we're kind of mashing up mashups. You know how you can the things that you love and how you can make them steampunk, but mostly things that we've seen in the cinema. Are you sure you really want me to be louder? Because I can be louder. I'd like my guests to introduce themselves. Sean, would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Sean Crosby. I'm probably most known as Obi-Sean, who is the guy who has the Star Wars car fighter art cars that drive around Los Angeles, 350Z with R2-D2 and laser guns and stuff. I have been doing that kind of project and steampunk stuff since 1977 when I started Star Wars costuming. We didn't have the term steampunk at the time, so for me, as a kid, it was Jules Verne and it was boilerplate, and everything that I did was, you know, I was a kid, so my big wheel got brass and rivets and steampunked, and I've been doing it ever since. I am kind of proud to have been one of the first people to go to San Diego Comic-Con as a steampunk when everybody scratched their head and went, huh? Didn't know what it was. And, you know, been doing it ever since.
Hi, my name is Alex. You guys probably know me as Dapper Fett. Is the steampunk Mandalorian for a more civilized age. It's been a work in progress for maybe the past 4 years, and this is the latest incarnation of it. So it's always changing every convention.
My voice is going already, and this thing talks when it feels like it. So I'm Christopher Cannoli. I'm Dude Vader. Yeah, this is the first time I've gotten to see your faces with 2 eyes. It's wonderful.
Let me look on you with my own eye.
So if you think it's too late to come to the game, I started in September after Comic-Con. A bunch of steampunk friends that are in the audience said, you know, it's time to do something, so I started out with a helmet and a Hawaiian shirt, and that was going to be it. Got a little carried away with it. So, and like our guests over here, I've been in the industry for a long time. How many Superman fans here? If you check the exterior of Fortress of Solitude, that was my design. I built one of the Batmobiles, so just Google up Chris Cannoli Batmobile and I think you'll have some fun.
The first outfit I did was the helmet, the vest, and maybe like a really, really cheap gun. But over the years, I just found more bits and more pieces and just kind of built everything. I mean, this is from a Hudson sprayer. The shoulder pads are just cardboard and Bondo, but it's always just been, let me find that one thing that I can get and work with to make this character that I really, really enjoyed. Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. And then over time you accessorize.
Yeah.
You start with some basic stuff, and then you can build it forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's never done.
No, it never is.
Chris?
Well, I'm a screenplay writer, so my idea is to start with the backstory. You know, come up with an idea of what a different version of a Star Wars character might be. So, what if Darth Vader had not died? What if he decided to go into retirement? Lives in a retirement home in La Jolla, California. Takes up surfing and decides to explore the bright side of the Force. Well, you know how us old guys are. We go back to our adolescence. And what did Darth Vader start out as? A little kid that tinkered in a junkyard. So the entire costume is made out of kids' Star Wars toys. So I go to the swap meet every weekend. I swear kids break their toys just to sell them to me. And I started off with the helmet and the Hawaiian shirt. And then I watched Star Wars again and I realized, oh my God, I've got 4 appendages I've got to fix now. So the costume just keeps expanding, keeps going in different directions. And the number one thing to remind yourself, when you're posing for people, listen to them. Because people say, well, what about this? What about that? Where's Boba Fett? You know, where's Chewbacca? And so you have to find those parts and then set themes on different parts of your outfit. So this entire costume, minus the corset, which is the most comfortable thing on the planet, is about $100. So you can really scrounge and do a lot. But I warn you, work in a well-vented area because the glue will knock you out.
So as you hear, some people will sit and are engineers almost when it comes to building their Star Wars costumes, and some of us, that's not our talent. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be pretty good at sewing, and technically didn't really like cosplay as in I have to build that exact character. But the freedom about steampunk is that you can take it in any direction that you want to. So even if you have as you were saying, Firefly or something else, Star Trek, whatever it is that you love, even if you wanted to do Wild West, there's a gentleman running around as Clint Eastwood downstairs with his poncho and spurs and everything. It's amazing. Whatever it is you love, you can find a way to integrate. Because, Victorian times, we get stuck sometimes in the U.S. and in Victorian England, but around the world, I've actually seen people do kimonos. And they've put gears and octopus and all kinds of exciting things on their costumes. And that's the important thing, is that, you got to start somewhere. And there's some organizations that will help you, as much as they may not like to admit. 501st in the house. Willing to admit it? 501st is a costume group, which Sean used to head up.
I belong to 501st, also the Rebel Legion, and we're certainly good for sources on all the basic Star Wars stuff. Like if you want to do a steampunk X-Wing pilot, you're going to need that helmet. And, we've got some pretty good ones. The guys make them in their garage. They're based on the original APH-6 fighter helmets. These guys are nuts. They track it down, they mold it, they go crazy. And, it's a good place to start. And then you start putting your gears and targeting computers, and it's brass and bronze, and your cool details on it. Also, there's a lot of other historical costuming organizations that are a good place to start. And you don't have to marry steampunk to Victorian, but if you like Edwardian or you like the Regency era, you can kind of slide it around a little bit, take those fashions, because steampunk kind of falls into an alternate timeline of history. So, you don't have to be Victorian on it. There's a group called the Costumers Guild West. In fact, we're giving a scholarship to a convention that we run, Masquerade, tomorrow, to one of the winners. This is a group that teaches you everything from how to turn on your sewing machine to giving workshops from 9 in the morning to 6 in the evening to make a Victorian era corset. And you walk out of there with a fitted corset to yourself. We teach Iron Man armor making. We teach how to turn your Nerf gun into a steampunk weapon. We hold workshops in it, leather dyeing, whatever you want to do. Find a group like this. This one's called CGW, and they're a nonprofit group, and all they do is teach people how to do this stuff and get the juices flowing and the old skills going. And all our teachers are volunteer, and come take some classes, come to a workshop. Find something that really kind of lights a fire. And if you get stuck, you can always, especially at a convention like this, you can come up to any one of us and say, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Where did you get the idea for that? Because, everybody likes to be appreciated. And you guys coming up going, I've been having a really hard time building this kind of backpack because I don't know how to strap it to me because I'm a particularly curvaceous woman or something. Guys will fall all over you. I'll help you get your backpack on.
What's the first thing that you got that you were like, I think I should start steampunking this Star Wars thing?
Well, the thing is that at Comic-Con, I thought, okay, what's going to be the biggest thing next year? Star Wars. And the steampunk friends say, that's not just enough. And so that's when I thought, okay, I've got a big enough ego to where I figured Dude Vader would be, pick one of the top guys. And, gold spray paint, you've got a helmet start. And then you just keep adding and adding and adding. And take advice. I mean, I'm studying your outfit right now. Parts of his outfit are going to be on my outfit on the celebration. Just to let you know.
And although he's not on the mic,
I don't know about the back.
Sean Crosby's favorite place in the world is the hardware store. Outside of going to swap meets.
Yes.
The hardware store is really your best friend.
One of those workshops that I told you about that we do is how to walk into Home Depot and how to walk out with something. And it's like, you want to make a steampunk weapon? Come take a couple hours, let's go to Home Depot. You want to make a lightsaber? We'll do the same thing. One of the things that helps me that kind of fits in with Chris's background is that when I do a costume and a character, especially something that's a take on something, I like to make sure that I have a character in mind when I do it. And so he was talking about his backstory for Dude Vader. I do the same kind of thing, but almost more in a occupational thing, because steampunk for me is very much an occupational hobby where you have a job in that world. What is it? And that really helps me kind of grow things out. So choosing to be a mercenary as Boba Fett, or a retired Sith Lord, or a Jedi Knight, whatever you happen to be, you can use that as a basis and then grow your entire costume out of it, because once you start thinking like that, things will start clicking. Like, his gun fitting his character specifically. You can look at a lot of different weapons and go, and then you see one that you're like, oh, that's the one. That's the one I
But, that's the fun thing. And when people are like, well, but, what are you going to do with that with Star Wars? I'm like, well, I happen to know the Tusken Raiders actually do use rifles and some of their stuff, so I just happen to have a shinier one.
This is a lamp from IKEA with a lot of parts on it. And I did an event with some guys from IKEA, and they went, oh my God, that's our lamp. And when it takes them about 15 minutes to figure that out, you pretty much did it right. And I've got junction boxes back here. I have Nerf toys, all sorts of stuff on here. And it's just a matter, you guys still play with Legos, right? Please tell me. It's the Lego school of building. And it's kind of what we all do. We get our parts together, we put them in a pile, and we go, what cool thing can we build now? And that's what you do. But this is my aesthetic. This is his aesthetic. That's Chris's aesthetic. We have our own artistic style. Play with that, embrace it, make it happen. I don't have to look like him, like he doesn't have to look like me. And that's the fun part about it. We're all in the same universe, we're all in the same world, and we're all different. And that's what's cool, because none of us is doing it wrong. Mostly from parts on hand. I save things, I save everything, and I put them in boxes. And I can walk into my garage and build something like this in a day. So if you have the parts on hand, you can do it. Sometimes you gotta run to Home Depot for paint, because how much copper paint can you really have on hand? But, so that's part one of it. But part two of it, don't be afraid to take your time. Don't put something on it just to have something on it. Wait for that perfect part that you're looking for that's really gonna set it off. That thing you really know you're gonna need. I mean, I knew I wanted something up here, I didn't know what it was gonna be, and then I found an old light switch in a box of old doorknobs of all things, and up it went. And so, you can do it really fast, but sometimes it's better to take your time with it and enjoy the process. Like I said, it's Legos. You sit down and you're like, this looks good, that looks good, that looks really good. And have fun with it, and make it your thing. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't be in Star Wars steampunk stuff by Celebration in a week and a half. You could do that.
Speaking of time, how many artists here? This is a time machine. I guarantee you, you're going to get lost for hours and hours and hours. And it's the best part of steampunking, I think, is the actual crafting of the outfits. Yeah, it's fun to pose for people that are total strangers in that, but the thing is that it's probably going to be, one of the most satisfying things you've ever done, especially if you've never tried to make something yourself before. There is no wrong steampunk outfit.
And then, Alex, you were saying $100 to put your kit together? Really?
A little more, maybe closer to 200, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that I have, it was literally found something on the floor and like, I'm gonna keep this. Or at work, something we broke, and like, can I just take this? I mean, the backpack for the vents and everything, it was pill bottles. I think one of them was a filter. The tubing I found on the floor. Cardboard I found on the floor. This leather I found on the floor. I found a lot of
You're in a really cool place. I'm gonna go.
There's a party at Alex's house right after this event.
a lot of things on the floor. No, but you find something and it's just, you think, okay, maybe I can use this later on. I mean, the pouches, I mean, they're held together by old sunglass straps, and you think, I can't use this now. But later on, you'll find some sort of use. I mean, I have boxes that they're just junk, and it's every single day you kind of go through something.
Potential junk.
Potential junk,
Not
yes.
true.
But you have to be able to know where it is when you need it. Yes, that's a problem.
Yes.
I have a box full of parts right now that it's kind of on hold because I'm seeing guys like this kick butt and take names with various Boba Fett costumes. I have a box for a steampunk Boba Fett Mandalorian costume. I'm working on the helmet, I'm doing things like that, and everything that I find that looks like should belong to that costume, whether it will eventually or not, but it looks like it belongs to that, it goes in this box. So I have about 12 of those aluminum Coke bottles that Coca-Cola shape. They're made out of aluminum. They're hollow in the bottom. Those are being built into a pair of boots for rocket boots. And all they need to be do is, painted, add some hoses to it, and it's great. And they're Coke bottles that people throw out. And they're aluminum, they're lightweight, they're awesome, they're easy to come by. They just go in the box and they wait. And eventually when I pick this project back up, I'm good because I got all my Lego parts in one spot. Usually blue plastic. They've been painted, and then I actually have drilled them in with some screws to keep them in place. Most of the things that I do are kid-oriented, charity-related, and occasionally things like San Diego Comic-Con. When you're wearing something like this at San Diego Comic-Con with all of those people brushing by you, you will lose a lot of things. And so trying to bolt things in as much as you can, I find to be very helpful. That said, though, there's a lot of super glues that I really like. I build these Star Wars cars. They are outside 24/7. They are on the road all the time. And so there's a Loctite super glue that I really like that Target has. It's called Super Glue Professional. Get a little blue bottle. And the paint on my car gives up before the glue does. Some kid pulls on something and pulls it up. They pull paint up, the car is fine. But it's amazing some of the adhesives and things we have. You can use E6000, which a lot of people use for jewelry and for shoe repair. That's a flexible glue that's really great. That takes a while to work on.
I used that on the strips for the Tuscan. Yeah.
You can also go to Home Depot. They have a series of JB Weld glues. JB Weld, the nice thing about it is they're often meant to be used for metal, which means they come in metallic colors. So you can use a silver or a bronze or a brass, glue this stuff together, and it will look like a metallic weld mark with no paint. And so there's lots of little things to do, but experiment with all of these things, because honestly, I like a good hot glue gun. And I can do a lot of damage with one of those.
Not the low temperature. Low temp is nice, but if you really want it to stay, hot glue. Although from a costuming point of view, don't be using hot glue on your costumes, boys and girls. Find someone with a sewing machine. Whether you have to go rent someone else's sewing machine, find a tailor in your neighborhood, please sew it. I sewed all of the strips down because, I could have glued them. And then in like 4 weeks, they're going to come off as I brush them up against stuff. I have an outer robe. I will have a full Tuscan, legit, no top hat for celebration. Because, I made a commitment that was what was going to happen in addition to doing steampunk. All right, we make a hole here in the center. Just scoot over everybody on this side. Just scoot this way. No, you stay this way. Come here. Don't fall off the stage, all right? And here, how do you turn a Star Wars costume into a steampunk costume? You give the Star Wars costume a steampunk gun. Vice versa, how do you turn a steampunk Star Wars? Trade weapons.
That is not a free parting gift, by the way. You have to give that
Yeah. Pretty heavy, huh? What do you think? Can you hold it? Oh, all metal in there, right?